Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would do something a little bit different this time. I have Eduardo Tarilonte's newest library, Forest Kingdom 3, loaded up into my DAW or digital audio workstation. And, normally I do a walkthrough where I do, three separate parts and I go into each of his main directories and talk about some of the sounds and I pull them up and audition them. And I thought instead of doing that, I thought maybe I would just sketch out some music while I'm at it instead. Because a lot of times when I do those, I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool. I should keep that. I should develop that. And so, let's see how this goes. Maybe it'll work and maybe it'll turn into a song, or maybe it'll just be some sketch that ends up in my folder of thousands of sketches that I haven't done anything with. So let's get started. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Eduardo's, both as a library developer and a person. He's a really good friend of mine and just such a great guy. And those are the kind of people that I love to have in my life. We don't talk that often, but when we do, there's always just that. This is a good person. This is somebody I want in my life. And he puts that same kind of care and energy into his libraries. I've reviewed a couple of them already. I've got more to do. I just haven't gotten to them yet. But everything that he's done that I have is just done to absolute perfection. And I love the detail he puts into it. I love the effects that he puts into it for the kind of music that I write, whether I'm doing something in the Mental Sauna series, which is new age, but with a set of specific rules that I've designed, or just doing some new age music, or even, like a background layer in a rock song or something like that. There's just always something I find in his libraries that really adds an element that nothing else in my giant vast archive of libraries seems to do. And the effects, the way that he does the effects to me are just perfect for the kind of music that I typically do. So I have to make very little adjustments on the sounds. I pretty much use them right out of the box. The one difference would be with Mental Sauna, there is a rule where I can't have any hard hitting sounds. So like a piano that has the strike or percussion or something like that. So I just have to take some of the attack off of that to smooth it out a little bit. But that is because it's a Mental Sauna rule. It has nothing to do with Eduardo. Every library that I have that I work with, I tend to have to do that when I write Mental Sauna music. So it takes a little bit longer. So I'll show you that, but I'm not going to really focus on that with today's sketch at all. So let's take a look at the interface. Of course, this is Engine. This is the newest version that has just come out recently. I'm recording this on March 6th. There was a recent update. I've done that one, and that was the last one. They don't update often, but when they do, it's like a pretty significant thing. The one drawback to this, which I can say with pretty much everything, whether you're working in Contact or any of the individual synths that you load in, like you would an engine like this one, is the font is so damn small. I'm working off of 43-inch televisions. I just got new glasses and I still can't read. Like, this is the only thing I can't read, and it drives me nuts. Now, when we get into the menus are a little bit bigger, but looking at like this section right here, I can't read that, and I'm literally 4 feet from the monitor. So that kind of bugs me, but fortunately I know where to go for the things that I want to do. So once you get used to it, it's not that big of a deal. So let's just pick a sound to start with. We're going to go, so these are all the libraries that I have for Engine, and they're pretty much all Eduardo's, except for the Engine Artist Libraries, which is like a sampler pack. It's like, here's a few sounds from each of these different libraries. Maybe you'll be interested in them. Forest Kingdom 2 is in here. Era 2 vocal codecs is in here. But you know what? I also have Era 2 vocal codecs, so I don't need those. But it's not like you can go in and delete those things so that they don't show up in the library. So some things are going to be duplicated when you get one of those. So we're going to focus on Forest Kingdom 3. Nada was the last one I think I did a full review on. That was designed really for new age music. It was a beautiful library. I remember talking to Eduardo about it the year before it came out and how excited he was, and did a little beta testing for it, and it's just a gorgeous library. That featured heavily on my album Entranced 2, actually. That and two other libraries that were actually the staple of the first one, which would be the original Storm Drum from East West or soundsonline.com, and the other being a program that no one seems to know about but me. It was called Vapor. It was made by Pro Samples. It was distributed by, well, you could get it from, I think you could get it from Zero G, at the time, but you could also get it through the Sounds Online website. And I've talked to Zero G, I've talked to Sounds Online. They seem to know about other Pro Sample libraries except for this one. So I still have it in the actual old compact engine because it's the only way it's ever been available, and I can't get it recreated because nobody knows what it is, which is just the weirdest thing on earth. So anyway, we're not talking about Nada. We're talking about Forest Kingdom 3, which you can get, by the way. You can get this at bestservice.com. I will have the link in the show notes. There's a different link, I think, if you're in the UK. But that's okay because you can still go through the American store, I think, and flip it over to the UK version. But it's a great resource for so many libraries that you can purchase on there. A lot of the higher end stuff, whereas like Plugin Alliance and Plugin Boutique, they have like you can get a plugin for $4.90 and stuff like that. Not gonna find really anything like that on Best Service. They're all high quality libraries. So check them out. I guarantee whatever you're looking for, they have something to match it. If not 3 or 4 things to match it with the, the utmost quality to it. So let's take a look here. The main categories that we have are instruments, soundscapes, fantasy creatures. I'm saying this because you can't read them right while I'm saying them. Voices, swishes, and performance grooves auditions. Now, I'm not going to worry about this folder. I don't work with loops. There might be some stuff in here. I should check it out. But typically, whenever I see anything with the BPM, I'm like, I don't need to worry about that. I write my own stuff, and I'm such a huge non-fan of loops or looping programs because really they do the writing for you and I don't care. But let's just check one out and see what it would sound like. So maybe they're not like the traditional loops that I don't like. Maybe these are something different. You can see a lot of green in here. I love that. I love this beautiful interface. Eduardo's a master of coming up with these GUIs that just really inspire the exact music that he's written these libraries for. And this is just elegant and gorgeous and fantasy, and I absolutely love it. And the Forest Kingdom series has been very, very popular. Very popular. So I think people were incredibly excited when they found out that Forest Kingdom 3 was coming out because those same people were just ranting and raving about Forest Kingdom 2. So anyway, let's check this loop out. I don't want to, say the wrong thing and discourage people if it's not what I think it is. Those are just going to keep going because all I did was hit the key once and it just kept playing. Yeah, those are the things that I tend to stay away from as a composer because I'd rather write that than have it done for me. I don't use them as a base for anything. I'd rather just create things from scratch. But for people that are looking for a starting point, maybe they're looking for some inspiration to see what the library can really do, those are great tools. But that being said, we're going to focus on, some things out of the other categories. Now, I'm not going to really audition pieces except for how I would to just find, patches to play anyway. So let's just go down the line. We'll start with instruments, and let's start with something plucked. That sounds like a good place to start. Ooh, Celtic harps. Let's do an acoustic Celtic harp. Let's see what that sounds like. And I'm going to write in C, I think C major, because that'll just make things simple and easy for the purposes of this sketch, whatever it turns out to be. So let's hear what the harp sounds like. Wow, that's just absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And listen to that decay. I mean, that's just incredible. Incredible. I love it. Okay, so that's one that we might keep. So here's the way that I tend to do things. I like to keep track of the sounds in case I need to pull them up again. But in case I'm like, what was that harp that I used in that one sketch? And I can pull it up and say, oh, this is exactly what it was and where I can find it. So I make a track sheet and it has the title. I'm just titling it. This is a working title, my name, and then I'll fill out all this other stuff as I go. I don't know what the tempo is going to be yet. We'll see. But the library, I just put Forest Kingdom 3 for all these because I'm not using anything outside of that for this sketch. And this was in the instruments category. And it was the acoustic? See, again, that's where it would probably help that I could read it. But when you go back in, the path is already, it shows it to you because it's got the check mark. So, Celtic Harps, acoustic Celtic Harp, that's what it was. Okay. And if, if this was like a synthesizer or a pad or something that I wanted to define, I might define here in this part what it does. It's really just playing the part of a harp for now. If it does anything different later, that's great. And I'm a fanatic file saver, so I'm just going to go ahead and save that. I'm also going to go ahead and save my DAW file so that this is already set up and ready to go. And that makes it easier. This is a template that I have for Engine, where I just make a 16-track template for Engine. However, what's neat is when you pick a library, it changes this from these are all blank to this little sun type icon, which is really, really cool. I like that. And let's pick another. So now we're going to be on track 2. So I need to move my DAW to track 2. I'm going to label this track as the harp. Okay, so now we're on MIDI channel or track 2. See, so this is this round icon here would be a MIDI channel. This wave pattern would be an audio channel, and MIDI audio, because I bounce those later on for mixing. So there's our harp. Let's find another instrument to use here. Forest Kingdom 3 instrument. How about something from the wind family? Ooh, a double flute. That could be cool. I don't think I've ever heard a double flute before. Let's check that out. So again, it changes, and it's different for every library, by the way. If I'm using, Dark Era, I get a different icon here than I do for Forest Kingdom, which is pretty cool. So here is the double flute. Interesting, very limited number of notes here that we have to play the flute on. We do have a key switch. Maybe not. Of course, I'm hitting that with my mouse, so. That's really nice. I'm going to keep that. So we're going to go with labeling this as the double flute. And back here, we're still in instruments. Yes, I really am that big of a fanatic about saving things. So now we're going to go to channel number 3. Let's put some percussion in here. I know we're going to need some. We always do. It's very helpful. Wow, lots of stuff. War drums. Ooh, water pumpkin. I think I've heard a water pumpkin before, or maybe it was when I was auditioning some of these sounds a little bit earlier. I know I'm going to want to use it, so I'm just going to write that in here now. Now see, here I won't write that it's a water pumpkin. I'll just write that it's a pumpkin because I don't, I know obviously that there's only one pumpkin here, and I'm only using Forest Kingdom. If I could spell. And here is where I'll change things. So in case I don't remember what this is later when I'm looking over this, the water pumpkin is going to be percussion. So I just note over here that it's percussion as opposed to like a water pumpkin melody or whatever, like a scraper or something else that they might have done with it. So here we are on track 3. So here we only have a little bit in the way of notes here. So okay, nothing on the black keys. Maybe something like that would be nice. But let's say that I wanted to take, I wanted to take a little bit of the attack out of it. I would come up here, and this is what I would do for, say, like a mental sauna piece. So here's the sound. And here's our attack. Obviously, percussion always starts with a hard attack. a hard attack and not a heart attack. So you're going to click in this little box right here on 1 and highlight it, and you're just going to move your mouse up, and you're going to take some of that curve out. You hear that? So it takes that harsh attack out. And when I'm writing mental sauna music, I like to take that out because I don't want anything that's kind of, going to take you out of that relaxed mode. And a harsh sound like that would, as opposed to, something like this. It's going to make a big difference. We also have velocity, of course. All hitting the same key, which is really nice. Okay, so there's something that we can do with that there. Go back to the main menu here. And, we're going to need some kind of background. We're going to need something that, fills in the back of the sound for us. So let's go back into Forest Kingdom 3 and let's listen to some soundscapes. There's got to be some good stuff in here. We've got ancient. Now, I can tell you, I've listened to a lot of Eduardo's soundscapes, and every one of them is beautiful. It's really a matter of what's going to fit in with the vision of your project, or what I find sometimes is that just listening to some of these, they kind of give me ideas or shape a project or send it in a different direction once I add them. But of course, since we haven't actually written anything, we don't have much of a direction yet. So let's listen to, let's see something in Ancient Secrets and see here. How about prophecy? That's always a good word. Oh, it would help if I was on the right channel. Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. And I love those higher sounds too. They've got that really nice aftertone to them. And the low end is just so, and I'm not even, I'm in the middle of the keyboard to the C beneath it. That's beautiful and ominous, and I love that. So that was prophecy. And this was under soundscapes. Okay, so everything that we've got so far is saved. I'm a big fan of that. Now, you only see 6 instruments right here, but let me just assure you it goes all the way down to 16, which is great because you've got 16 MIDI channels anyway. If you need more than that, you can open a second or a third or a fourth instance of Engine and just keep adding sounds just like you would in Contact. Engine's a very nice and smooth sample player, and I like it in a lot of ways. I like it better than Contact because it's just so visually pleasing. They're both very easy to work with because I've spent a lot of time with both of them and I'm very comfortable with both of them. Probably Contact a little bit more because I have a lot more Contact libraries, but in general they're both wonderful to work with, and they're just, they each do their own thing. And of course, I didn't talk about this. These are going to change per sound, but I've talked about them before. In the middle section here of each instrument, it loads different types of effects and things that you can manipulate. Here we have the amount of reverb, here we have the panning, here we have the volume of the sound, and here we have the pitch. So we can even change the pitch here. We've got some more controls down here that allow us to just, blend sounds differently. These are the layers of sounds that make up the sound that we're hearing. So like you hear the different sounds in the aftertouch, those are a different sound that's loaded in that are responding still to the key connection that I made with the physical keyboard to trigger a note, but it's triggering another sound at the same time. So there's a lot you can play with here. And if you're working with real instruments, a lot of times when you click on the name, you'll get a pop-up for a little bit of a history on that instrument, what it is. So you get like a drawing of it or a picture of it, and you get an idea of what it is that you're actually playing. So if you don't know what an oud is, for example, you could click on the word oud, and it might bring up a little picture and tell you a little bit about it. I don't know if this library does that. I know some of his past libraries have. Great feature. feature because it saves me having to open up a Google browser, search for anything, and also just be draining a little bit of the resources on the RAM on my system. So if you're one of those composers that's getting by with 8 gigabytes, you don't really want to be opening things you don't have to. I'm working off a 16 here. I can run a full symphony on my 16 and be just fine. I've done it many times also with a movie playing. So if I'm scoring to picture, I got to have the film up there as well as the entire orchestra. So with 16, I can do that without any problems whatsoever. It really comes down to the driver and mapping the audio to the sound card and, you know, all those little finite details. Once you've perfected those, you can really, really push the power of your computer. I should also point out I'm using a 6-core, 3.4 gigahertz processor, I think. So it's a pretty powerful machine. It was designed as a gaming computer. And when I needed a new computer, I said, well, I might as well get something that has some real power, and gaming machines are some of the most powerful. So there you go. And I purchased that at the now defunct Fry's Marketplace. Not Fry's Marketplace. What was it? Fry's Computers. Fry's Electronics. That's what it was. Fry's. Wow. They haven't even been gone a year and I've already forgotten their name. And I spent a lot of time in that store. A lot of money too. All right. So let's find one more thing here. We'll go down to track 5. And you can tell which tracks are full and empty again because the ones that you've picked something on have icons. If you don't like something that you've picked, you can clear it out as I did in the beginning. I'll show you how to do that real quick. We'll just go in and pick an instrument. Lovely little Kalimba. Oh, I like that. I might keep that actually. But just for the purposes of showing you how to get rid of it, you would just go back to where you would pick another patch and hit clear. And it'll double check and make sure that you're sure that you want to clear. And you say yes, and then it just removes that patch. So you don't have to have things loaded in that you don't need. Again, especially if you're in need of saving the energy on your computer, saving the RAM, you could do that. But let's go back and put that Kalimba back in because I like that. Forest Kingdom, instruments. Is it under plucked? Yeah, Kalimba. All right. Now, when I'm doing sketches and I'm picking instruments, I won't necessarily use all of these. These are sounds that I really like and I might do something with. And if I don't, I can just clear them out. And that's a percussion instrument. Now, I guarantee, I didn't spell prophecy right, did I? Thankfully, except for this one, I'm the only one that looks at these sheets. So there's our Kalimba. We've got that, but I wanted to pick another sound. So we'll do one more. Oh, there's so many things here. Fantasy creatures, a white mountain gorilla. I got to hear what that sounds like because why wouldn't I? He's not happy. Listen to that reverb, though. Okay, so that sounds like they sampled a gorilla, slowed it down quite a bit, added a huge amount of reverb, and maybe stretched out the audio a little bit on it. Sounds really cool. Not something I see using in this particular piece. So you can erase it. You can go in and clear it, or you can just go in under that same track number and pick something different. So it looks like we've got a variety of small creatures here. Lovebird, Lost Valley Beast. The names are always so intriguing, aren't they? Pick the right octave. Wow, I love that. So I'm thinking for this song, we're not going to probably use any fantasy creatures. Doesn't really strike me right in the moment. That doesn't mean that it won't later, but there's some good sounding things in here. I love the names that Eduardo comes up with. That is so challenging. So many patches in here, and you have to come up with names for everything. So here is an ethereal female solo voice or a shaman. Let's see if this might work well here for what we're doing today. And you can tell when it changes over because this will read the actual patch name. Some of the patches are really big and they take a long time to load. Not a long time, but a few seconds. But they're so worth it. Don't forget to let your singer breathe. And then when you get into the gray keys, they don't do anything because there's no sound associated with them. But here in the white area, you've got all the sounds here. And these might be, again, key switches. Let's see. Whoops. So they're not key switches in the terms of a musical key. Basically, they give you a different set of audio to play under that patch. So they're all the same singer, but each one of them is a different articulation. So they're really articulation switches. But they're called key switches, so we'll go with the actual correct term, because why wouldn't we do that? Okay, so not really striking me for this piece. And again, that's perfectly fine. Let's see what that shaman is all about. Oh, wow. Okay. Melodic phrases, sustained words, chants. Ooh, slow chants. Let's go with rituals. Let's see what that sounds like. Shaman rituals. So those are some vocal phrases that you could string together. And make kind of a chant. You could, you could build a chant out of that, which is pretty neat, actually. Not really feeling voices for this one. Let's see what's going on with swishes here. These are tuned. Those are dry. Start with the first tuned one, and it's dry tuned. Now you'll notice that even though I'm striking the keys at the same time, they carry on and end differently. They change the speed as they're changing their pitch. So that's something to think about, when you're using a patch like that to see if it might work for you. Could be a cool opening though. Nah, I don't think so. I think we'll look for something else. That's kind of nice. It ping pongs back and forth. Yeah, I feel like we might be able to do something with that. So we'll see. If it doesn't work, we can always switch it out with something else. So this is Swishes 01 tuned. Here, we're just going to put swishes. But on the sheet, we want to know more specifically, so that if we ever need to, we find the right patch. I guess you would just call it a swish. And very redundant. Okay. So the first thing we have is a harp. Let's just, let's just play something and we'll record it as we go. And you'll hear a click track. So we need to decide a tempo based on whatever our idea is. We can put this to the side for now. And let's see. And maybe something a little bit faster. faster. So we're at 81. Let's go to 100. That's usually a good starting tempo to kind of feel something out. Now, one of the secrets, I don't know if it's like this in other DAWs because I really haven't worked in any other DAWs that much to know, but if you want to smooth that out a little bit, the way that I find now, I know that those are eighth notes, but I would say go to 16th notes, quantize it, and then go to eighth notes. Whoops, went the wrong way. And usually for some reason I find in Cakewalk it locks things in better. Yeah, nice and simple. Okay, I don't like that, but that's, how you would do that. So let's maybe slow that tempo down just a little bit because you can see how my idea and playing changed with the tempo. Let's meet it in the middle at 90 from what it was originally. Okay, I have no idea what that even was. That was just off the cuff. So again, we'll go back to quantizing at 16s and back to 8s. Now, I don't normally quantize everything. I'll point that out. The reason I'm doing it here is just so that everything will line up really nice and smooth so, it doesn't cause anybody to get a little lost. Okay, nice and smooth performance. None of the notes are out of place. Not that I played them perfectly, but that's how they came out. Now, I want to do something with the Kalimba next, and this is why I put notes in here as to what all these things are so I can find them easily. So here's the Kalimba audio channel, so the MIDI track is right above it. So we want to arm that to record, and only that track, otherwise it'll record data on the other tracks as well, and we don't want those. So let's see something here first. Oops. Now see here, I still have it on the sound for the harp. So I want to go down here and click on the Kalimba track, the Kalimba MIDI track. Yeah, something like that maybe. Again, just fleshing out ideas, not trying to write the grandest masterpiece here just yet, but you never know what might come out in these sessions, This could be something, or this could be the ramblings of a crazy old man here. Either way, just sketching, just playing with ideas. A lot of times when I'm just trying to find sounds or don't really necessarily have any specific idea to write, but I want to do a writing session, I'll just pick sounds and start playing around and see what comes up. I mean, obviously I've come up with 3 or 4 different harp melodies already, and would have done different things with the Kalimba based on those. So kind of feel like this would be a good spot to put in the double flute. Maybe not. We'll see. Oh, and if you want a refresher on what notes are available to you, you can just go right back here and you will go to, let's see, where is it? You click on whatever corresponding one it is to the right sound. The icon takes you back here. We're at double flute, so we can see which keys we have available. Wrong octave. Okay, that's what we're working with. I'm just going to slide this over to my other screen here. I don't know, maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. We can always change it. We're going to go save the pumpkin for a minute. Let's go ahead and do the pad that we have. We'll do prophecy and just see how that layers in. Okay, so we want to go again. I always forget to do that. I always forget to click on the right track because I arm it, but I forget that I'm not actually on it. Might be more of an intro. Let's see. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to insert 4 measures from the beginning. It's not actually insert. It is project, insert, time or measures. We want to do, at the beginning, we want to do 4. And then measures are what's clicked. So we'll do that there. That takes everything out. That gives us room to do a little bit of an intro with this beautiful pad sound. Let's do that. Get all crazy from there. So, okay, so we haven't done the pumpkin or the swishes yet. I think we could do something with the swishes. Let's see. And let's again refresh ourselves on what keys we can use. All of those. So a good majority of them. Might be the weirdest thing I've ever written. But see, normally I'll do this and then I'll add another track, and then I might go, that doesn't work. Now that I've added these other sounds, that doesn't work as well as it did in the beginning when it was just that and one other instrument, and I'll remove one of those and just kind of keep playing with it until I've got the idea really narrowed down. That's just one of the ways I write. A lot of times I'll just come in and go, I know what I want. I just need to sit down and go through the process of writing it because it's already in my head. Sometimes I'll just jam around on an instrument and go, okay, how do I want to build around this? What kind of sounds do I want? What do I want the song to feel like based on this idea? And just go from there. And of course, you're going to have key changes and different things throughout. This is just very simple demo in just a scratch in the key of C. So let's go back to our pumpkin. Those sounds are really striking me today. No pun intended. Now, some people do all this differently. They will quantize as they go. They'll mix as they go. They'll pan as they go. Haven't done any panning in here as of yet, but that's something that a lot of times I don't necessarily do in the interface. I'll do that in the mix. A lot of times I'll just keep them as they are, especially with Eduardo's, with the pads and things like that. They're really rich and full in both ears, and you really don't need to do anything with them at all. But because this was percussion, I want this to be very precise. I don't want it to distract because people went, wait a minute, that felt offbeat. So that I am going to quantize. This I'll just start with the eighth notes and we'll play it back and see how it sounds. Really more concerned about this section here. Now, normally the way I would do things is I would do that bass drum or bass beat on one track and then anything melodic on another track. And the reason I would do that is because I'd want to be able to mix them independently. Maybe I'm going to want to make that bass sound a little bit bigger in the mix where I don't want to manipulate the rest of that percussion track. So I would be most likely to do those on separate tracks. And then let's hear the whole thing together. Okay, it's not bad. I'm not sold on that double flute. I don't think that's really working for me. But just to give you an idea here, we have, like I talked about panning. I haven't really worked with that very much on this. But here's the place that you would do that. You just click on the middle. You raise and lower your mouse. It can be very sensitive, and that just gives you the different degrees of things that you can do pan-wise, to the left, to the right, and all places in between. Visually, it doesn't necessarily match up all the way. Actually, yeah, it should. There we go. Okay. You just have to play with it a little bit. But yeah, so that's how you would pan things. If you wanted to do it in this stage of the mix before you bounce it to an audio track, you can do it either way. Whatever suits your process best. Sometimes I do it at this stage because I want to get a more accurate picture of what the song is going to sound like. I might layer things differently depending on the depth of particular instruments or the overall sound of where the song is headed. So a lot of times I will do it this way. Sometimes I wait until just the final mix to do it because I already know what I want it to sound like. It just kind of depends on the piece of music. But I feel like this isn't really moving. It's not really going anywhere too quickly. It's just a bunch of disconnected sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if Eduardo has given us a shaker. So we've used up all these. We got to scroll down to the next one and click the button. And let's see if there's a shaker in here. So we're going to go to instruments and we're going to go to percussion. Oh, look, we have rattle. We have a shaker. We have a shaker set. I think I want to go with that. that might make things simpler for this. We'll see. All right, let's see what we're working with here. So we're going to go down here and just put shakers. And this is, we're on track 7. So here we are on track 7. This is instruments. I don't like to type things twice a lot, so that kind of stuff I'll copy. Shakers, and that is percussion. And a lot of times if I'm working with like an assistant or somebody who's going to bounce all these tracks for me, this part column can be really helpful because they know what to listen for if they're not familiar with any of the particular sounds. Most of the time I use pretty repetitive general things. So anybody that has worked with me for a while would know that, would probably likely know what it is already. So let's see what we have for shakers here. Okay. So we got some performance stuff. Wow, okay. Probably something like that, I think. Let's see. Let's see how it feels with the song. Oh, I'm going to save this really quick too while I'm at it. Okay. And here's the fun part. I recorded on the wrong track. I recorded on the audio track instead of the MIDI track. The MIDI track. I can't speak at this point. Happens to me a lot because I don't speak a lot. So I wasn't really happy with that anyway. So let's re-record it on the actual MIDI track where it's going to do us some good. Yeah, something like that's a little better. Let's see what it sounds like overall after we save it, of course. Without that being quantized, that's really hard. So I did some triplets in there, so I don't want to quantize those just yet. So we'll just go with these, see how it turns out. Okay, it looks like they're okay. Looks like everything lines up. Let's see. just love that reverb. He's so consistent too from library to library. He does that so well. And you can adjust it. You can turn the reverb on and off. You can adjust the level. But God, I just find that where he puts it is so in sync with the kind of music that I do and the way that I like it to just sound big without, drowning in reverb. But it has that tremendous, powerful sound and tail to it from the reverb. It's just a great balance. So yeah, it's kind of shaping up now. I'm still not sold on that double flute. I'm not a big fan of the flute myself. There's just some frequencies in there that are really difficult for my particular ear. So I don't use flutes a whole lot, but there might be something else in the winds or something else I can use, or maybe I'll find a different way to use the double flute, because I actually like the sound of the double flute. I'm just not sure what I've got in there really fits. But anyway, we'll see what happens with it. Maybe I'll finish it and develop it down the road. Like I said, maybe it'll just end up in a pile of ideas I had or sketches I put together. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed listening to some of the sounds that Eduardo's created on Forest Kingdom 3. I've got the links in the show notes, guys. If you're a composer that does any kind of music that could use these, this would be a great library for you to have. And I could not recommend it more. And check out all of Eduardo's stuff, because seriously, I can say this, bias aside, my friendship and everything aside, I can honestly say that every single thing I've heard from him, every patch I've ever pulled up is nothing but perfectly done. And when you're working with somebody that you can trust to that level, it makes the writing process so much more enjoyable, because you don't have to go in and go, okay, I really like these sounds, but I've got to manipulate them. I got to do all this to them and get yourself out of that writing mode. You want to be up and running as a creative as quickly as possible. Unless you're a sound design person, then obviously that's really more your forte, is to change things around. But for most people, for most composers, it's you just want to get in there and start writing, pick your patches as quickly as possible. And it's great to work with libraries like Eduardo's, because right out of the gate, I don't have to manipulate a bunch of stuff. I may change the tail on it or may change the attack just because, it may not work for the song. But apart from that, everything's going to be the way that Eduardo put it in there, because it's just perfection, absolute perfection. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Subscribe to my channel if you want notifications for when things are added. I add all kinds of stuff here, some of the interviews that I do on my podcast, as well as like things I've written. All kinds of stuff gets uploaded there. So check that out. Subscribe if you would. Click the little bell thingy so you get the notification. And I'll see you guys in another video in the future. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Eduardo. Cheers.